Congratulations, you finished the Introduction to Notebooks lab, and so now it's time to do the post-lab assignment. So we did the lab on Wednesday. You put the M&Ms in the water. Now you're going to write an analysis, a summary, a conclusion about what happened in the lab. So to submit the post-lab, we go to week 1. We go to our Introduction to Notebooks lab. You'll note the due dates are always on the description of the folder, of the lab folder within the week. And then if we click in, we can also, again, see the due dates. Post-lab is going to be due Sunday, that's September 21st at midnight, just before midnight. We have a handout here. Again, you're going to always, all the information for the lab is always going to be in the handout. So if we scroll down, we have all the information we put into the lab notebook, objectives, disposal, kind of the background that you answered questions about in the pre-lab. As you keep scrolling down, you recorded observations. And then the last page, we have the post-lab. There's 2 parts to the post-lab, the questions and the conclusion. So you're going to write answers to these questions, and you're going to write a conclusion. For this lab, there's going to be a lot of overlap. The points, because this is our first lab, first time we're doing it, the purpose of the post-lab questions in this case is to kind of get you on track for what should go in the conclusion, what kind of ideas, what kind of analysis. It's kind of step-by-step broken down in these questions. More will go in the conclusion, but this is the concluding part, right? You won't always have a conclusion. We only have them in labs where we were trying to answer a question, like is sugar bowler. Sometimes we'll just do exploring labs or just can we do it labs. Those won't have conclusions, they'll just have questions, but you will always have a post-lab assignment. So the questions here and the conclusion need to be, here's the prompts. Where do you actually submit it? It's back in the lab folder. So if we scroll down, this post-lab assignments where you're going to submit it. But before, I just want to mention the notebook is still available. The wiki is still there. And so I encourage you to look in that. Whatever observations you made on Wednesday are still in there. You should look at those when you're answering the post-lab. The post-lab should generally, your answers to those questions should reference the observations you made in the lab. That's how you properly conclude, properly analyze what happened. But for the post-lab, we submit it here. We click this. Introduction Notebooks. This is called a journal. It's like a wiki, but it's individual. Everybody has their own. There's a generic prompt in here for it, but you'll note it's the assignment given at the end of the lab handout. That's where the questions will always be. You submit by clicking Create Journal Entry. So you click it, and it looks like the wiki. You have to give it a title, so we just call it Post. And then you have a text editor, so you could write in the answers that you could write in your answers that you've got there. And then you could also attach files. Blackboard doesn't save work in journals, just like it doesn't in Wiki. So sometimes if you want to if you want to handwrite it and upload pictures, you want to put it in a Word document, make a PDF, do some combo, whatever, you can attach files. You can attach multiple files if you want to, pictures and Word document, whatever. And then you can click Post Entry, and you've got it submitted. But you might realize whoops, I didn't write a conclusion. I've only answered the questions here. With a journal, you cannot edit posts, but you can create a new entry. So, we could call it, C's not working? Oh, conclusion. And then, you write a paragraph of conclude, right? Whatever you write. If you want to avoid multiple entries, you can always save entries as drafts. I cannot see them, though, as submitted work. If you always, to turn it in, you have to click Post. I'm fine with you having multiple posts in here, multiple entries in your draft, in your journal. I can see them all when I'm looking at it. It's not hard for me to identify. And they're time-stamped, so I know which one you turned in last. That's the one I'm going to grade. If you have multiple versions of it or something like that. So they're all in here. So that's how you actually submit it. There's one thing I want to note. You'll see there's this button over here that's this grade. It's poorly formatted. You'll see it says grade by rubric. And if you click that, it opens the rubric. So let's take a look. So here we're in the rubric, and you can see there's information post-lab question 1, question 2, and then the conclusion has its parts. How I write my rubrics is I basically write what I expect kind of a complete response to include in a complete response. And then when I grade, I'll give you some, kind of portion of that. I do want to note, because the post-lab's worth 15 points, the I have to set the rubric as percentages, and it doesn't work perfectly. This is really 2.5 points, 2.5 points, 2, 2. Those decimals aren't going to matter when I'm actually grading it all, and it's going in the lab notebook. These are all the parts of the conclusion are equally weighted. It's not some sort of different part for each. I do encourage you to look at in the conclusion. There's kind of a generic prompt in the lab handout. This is what I'm actually looking for. This is how I'm actually going to grade your conclusion. I encourage you to read the rubric and the things that I'm looking for there. As well as for the post-lab questions, right? I'm giving you a description of what I expect. Yeah. If you have any questions about anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, the post-lab is due on Sunday. That's the 21st, September 21st at midnight, just over on Blackboard. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have fun. Bye-bye.